What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hold Husband Podcast. I'm your host, Terry Duran. I got my co-host on the line with me tonight. I got my man, Jay Golf on the building. What's good, bro?
Not much, man. Looking forward to chopping it up tonight. You see, we got SD missing for tonight. Will be missed, but we look forward to having him back on next episode here. But want to quickly remind you, you can catch us on TikTok as well. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Hold Husband Podcast. And for those, interested in promos, shout outs, and for those that have businesses, you can shoot us a DM on IG at Hold Husband Podcast at gmail.com, as well as on IG at Hold Husband Podcast. All right, T.
I want to give a shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us laced with our background music. I want to also remind everybody to continue supporting the podcast through our Cash App and our PayPal. And I want to remind everybody that you can catch the audio playback of the podcast every Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on the core94.com. Now, today's episode is titled Marketing Plans. So we're going to be having a conversation and breaking down how the dating market and dating success is really reliant on being able to successfully market yourself to potential suitors. But you know how we do around here, man. We like to discuss stuff that we've seen trending or things that have kind of gone viral. So we got a couple of interesting videos this week. This first video seemed like common sense to me. But it was talking about how men actually fall in love. Let's take a look.
The men will fall in love with the sex first and then kind of go from there as far as falling and finding in love. Do you think there's any validity or truth to that?
I've never met a man that fell in love with sex.
Okay.
Not a grown man anyway. I don't even think that any man falls in love with sex. I think that you can become pussy whipped. I think that pussy can cloud your judgment. But I don't think that men fall in love with sex. We love sex. We like sex. Sex is definitely a tool, but we fall in love with how you make us feel. Mm. It's not in a like physical sense, in an emotional and a mental state. Like we fall in love with how you make us feel appreciated. Do you make us feel heard? Do you look at us with admiration? Like men fall in love with a woman usually because when you're with the right woman, she makes you feel as though you can take over the world.
Now, to me, like I said, that seems like common sense. That's something we've been talking about and preaching over the years. That this misconception that having good sex is going to get you the man and keep the man. Like, I don't know how many centuries of evidence women need to disprove that theory, but it's clearly not true. Because if that were the case, you would see some of these beautiful, gorgeous women snatched up. It's ultimately what a man experiences being around a woman on a day-to-day basis that makes him fall out of love and, be willing to give up the beauty and the sex and those intangibles that come with being with her. So to me, I don't understand why these kind of questions are still up for debate for women.
I don't understand either. I mean, and he's pretty much right on what they said. What men that's looking for a serious relationship are going to fall in love with. The way you make him feel. Does he like being around you? Things of that stuff. Now, here's where I slightly disagree with them. Is it possible for a man to fall in love with the sex or with the coochie here? Yeah, that's possible. I mean, it happens. But I see what he means. You can become pussy by it, but. I think, there's a lot of times when men don't actually fall in love with women. He just falls in love with, the regular sexual access and, putting on the freak booze on them and the triple X-rated sex. There's men that fall in love with it. And I guess you could say that's falling in lust with the woman as opposed to falling in love.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to characterize it. But I think what most, the love and falling in love and the romantic love and this whole generalized idea of what love is really kind of just an infatuation or the honeymoon phase of a dating relationship. And that cycle happens anytime a man gets involved with a new woman, where he was interested, he was anxious to learn about you, the conversations, he's asking all kind of thought-provoking questions, these and that. But that naturally wears off as you get to know a person and you start to see a person on a day-to-day basis. But the way that I define a man's love for a woman, it's not, what does he buy her and what does he do for her and all this? Essentially, to me, what love means from a man is Is he willing to do things for you that he would not do for others? Is he willing to put up with things from you that he would not accept from others? Because those are the signs of a man's love on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean? Like continuing to give his resources, continuing to provide guidance and provide leadership and make the sacrifices it takes to be the head of the household. Because being a man doesn't, being a husband and father doesn't come with a lot of tangible rewards. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I guess you're right. It could be I guess, you're a husband and father. I guess it could be I guess, thankless job at times. But, your way of defining what falling in love is, it's a very practical, tangible way. I don't think a lot of folks would define it in that way. A lot of times when they say, I guess when a woman, or just a lot of people in general, because I guess love is up to one's interpretation and opinion. And a lot of times it's a lot of intangibles of what people fall in love with as opposed to, the practical way you put it here.
I mean, well, it is one of the things that you can't really put a clear cut definition to, because everybody's not on agree to that same definition, and they're not going to make their same dating decisions the same way. But when you're talking about a husband or a father or a man that's going to be in your life for several years, where he has to deal with things about you that he is not happy with, or he does not like, or that frustrate him, men handle that very differently because our perspective is very different. And we spend time trying to give different perspectives on guys that, with different levels of dating success or whatnot. But the type of guys that women actually want, the guy that has been sleeping with several women his whole life, he does walk in a room and he's able to interact and, has a swag to attract those type of women. To make that man choose to not deal with any other woman and only focus on you, a lot of that has to do with what he experiences with you, your attitude, your perspective, your thoughts on money. Are you selfish? Are you just trying to use him and finesse him? Like all these type of things that a guy that is a black belt on the dating market and has been dating very attractive women, he's not going to fall for that type of stuff. So yes, it is going to take a lot more than sex to get that type of man to actually love you and stay in love with you.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, when you guys are dealing with each other, and you're dating and you're potentially pursuing something longer term, or just dealing with her in general, right? Sex, that's supposed to be a given, right? So it's just like, okay, you guys have, you guys are compatible physically, the sexual part. It's like, okay, once you guys have the sex and once you get out of bed, it's then what? Because you gotta think, sex is what? It's an activity you do for 15 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour at the most, right? There's still 23 more hours in a day. So you have to bring more of that on those other 23 hours than just sex here for the guy to want to give up those other women to deal with you.
Yeah, and as kids, careers, and other things, that becomes less and less of the activity of the relationship. Now, I will strongly say that the sex is it should be used to maintain the connection that the guy has with the woman, because we do have the term making love for a reason. So when a man already loves a woman and he's having sex with her, that does create thoughts and feelings after the sex that he does not get from busting a nut or just having sex with a woman he does not love. So those are the type of things that'll have a man thinking, he's driving or he's at work thinking about you in a long-term sense, thinking about you in a future presence, like how do you fit in his future? How do your career goals and family goals align? Like those are the type of things that happen when a man regularly gets sex with the woman he loves, or he feels like he loves. Unfortunately, a lot of times the relationship is built on partial truths or half truths. And once the guy, once their true character is revealed, one or both of their feelings may change towards being together. You know what I mean? But as far as falling in love and staying in love, sex is part of the equation, but it's never going to be the fundamental thing that makes a quality man fall in love.
It is. I think if you're trying to build a relationship off sex, then I think you're building it off a shaky foundation to begin with. If it's just based solely on sex, it's just
Yeah, I
like you
mean,
said, it's just
and to disprove that theory, like I said, that the reason guys can separate for most guys, sex is a physical thing. He wants to give sexual pleasure. He wants to receive sexual pleasure, and ultimately the goal is to bust a nut. So that's
it's
generally how guys view sex. Like it's not this thing
it's
where
kind of,
it's gonna be this magical moment that he
you
just remembers the rest of his life or something like that.
the best analogy for it, right? For a man, how a man views sex, right? It's just like if you think of like any combat sport, boxing, UFC, right? Those two get into the ring, they want to kill each other, but they can get out the ring and be best friends, and they can go get dinner and everything after and hang out after like nothing ever happened, right? Because men can compartmentalize like that. Yeah, they're enemies. They could be enemies in that ring, but once they get out, they're not really enemies.
Yeah, I mean, so it's I guess when you talk about he mentioned in the video, yeah, some dudes that may not have had success with women or may not have access to attractive women, yeah, they're gonna be. It's not just gonna be the sex though. They're gonna be in love with her beauty, the reactions that he gets from being
No
with
question.
her, the way that he's viewed, the way that his perception changes. Like all of that comes into play when a guy finally starts having sex with an attractive woman. You know what I mean? But for a guy that does that on a regular basis, the like you said, the sex is not even gonna really be the main factor. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not gonna move the needle. It's gonna be the conversations that you have. It's gonna be does he learn stuff from being around you? Because those are the type of things or the kind of conversations where when a guy's telling you about a chicken, you one of your homies like, man, she taught me how to cook such and such. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
you cook something? You know what I'm saying? Like those are the type of things where you'll see a guy stepping out of his comfort zone or making changes that represent he has someone in his life that he's actually learning from and views as a long-term prospect. So like I said again, these kind of videos that come up for a man, it just seems like a no-brainer or
Exactly.
The easiest answer in the world. Let's keep things rolling. Now, this next video is talking about something that I've spoken about hundreds and thousands of times over the years. But it's one of the biggest obstacles that guys have from having effective communication and resolving issues with the woman. Let's take a look.
I bring up a problem and I'm voicing to you how I feel about it, and we're having a conversation about it. That is not your turn and the time for you to talk about how I did something 2 weeks ago or a month ago or 6 years ago. That's not the time. And that is one of the biggest things that goes wrong in relationships, man, is when a man trying to tell you what he feels. And then you come up, well, you made me feel this way 3 weeks ago when you was talking to such and such. Is that what we're talking about right now? We're talking about how you made me feel. But now it makes it seem like, okay, you can't sit in the discomfort of being on the hot seat, right? You can't sit with that. Everything got to be about you. What I'm saying does not matter. And anytime that I bring up my concerns, there's no point in us talking about it because the conversation is always going to come back to something I did wrong. How did it go from me trying to express a way that I needed you to do better, and now it's all about everything I'm not doing right?
100%.
How did this get flipped and turned on me?
That is the most used take or express comments from men that I can think of in regards to relationships and dealing with women. It falls under the accountability blanket. So, that's one of the buzzwords that we obviously see that women take issue with. But it's one of the reasons that male friendships thrive, because we don't have to be passive aggressive and wait for something like the example that he gave, where a man did something that made a woman feel some type of way, and she doesn't address it, she doesn't express it, she doesn't bring it up in a way to actually resolve it. She may have had a negative reaction or did something to try to hurt him, frustrate him, piss him off, etc. She may have done something childish like that, but she didn't take the adult approach where she express why she had a problem, and to be able to figure out what the real issue is. Because a lot of times the problems that women have with men are he didn't handle a situation how she would have handled it. He didn't think about it the way that she would have thought about it. And all those things are problematic because it's essentially punishing a man for not thinking and acting like a woman. So this is something that kills relationships, and it makes a man feel like this is what makes a man check out of the relationship, essentially.
No, because you know what? I hate this. This is the worst thing. You know, you're trying to bring up and address an issue, right? And 9 times out of 10, you're trying to do what effective conflict resolution, right? You see a problem, you want to address it, and then the first thing you say, well, what about the time you did X, Y, Z, bring out something for 2 months or 3 months ago, something that you probably already moved on. It wasn't even thinking about it, right? And I feel like when people do that, I feel like you're having a conversation in bad faith. I think you're making a bad faith argument, or you're making a point in bad faith to try to deflect from the point he was making here, right? Hey, listen, I don't like when you do this. Oh, but you did this, 5 months ago. I don't understand what you did. And I'm saying that her feelings isn't legit if she feels some type of way about it, but that's something that could have been addressed then, as opposed to addressing it when he's bringing up his point here.
Yeah, and from a guy perspective, it can be very difficult to handle this situation, especially in real time, where she says something, because it's not just this. You also have to deal with you could sit there for 2 minutes and explain something in great detail and get hit with so basically you saying I'm a bum, or basically you saying I'm this. You know what I'm saying? Like she can instantly summarize something you said in a way that makes your perspective seem immature, childish, or outlandish. And again, another bad faith situation where she's not really trying to resolve the issue. You know what I mean? And so guys have to deal with these kind of things in real time. You're juggling all these deflection tactics and all these childish ways of handling disagreements. And it never resolves anything, because one thing that you'll notice about a solid quality man is if you come to him with a complaint or a problem with something he did, he can provide an explanation and details on his thought process, the information he had at the time, and the logical reason he made the decision that he made. And if he did make a mistake, he can be like, oh yeah, you're right, my bad. I didn't even read the text. You know what I'm saying? Like, because sometimes that's where you find the misunderstanding. Like when situations like that happen with my wife, and she'll be saying something like, well, you sent the second text as I was typing the first one. Like, so based off the information I had when I sent the first text, that's why I responded the way that I did. But I'm an expert level communicator. Most guys cannot do that when they are pissed off, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's tough. I think it's tough in real time to, because a lot of times, women might try to, she brings up something from the past, or she tries to, marginalize what you're saying, right? She does everything in her power to marginalize what you say, or make it seem like it's you and it's not her, right? And like you said, a lot of times men kind of struggle with that, right? And like you said, you have the effective communication skills to kind of filter and work around it. As a lot of men, unfortunately, don't.
I was gonna say, and how they deal with it usually ends up being something that's more problematic, because this also leads to you got a chick that you can talk to, that you can express your thoughts to. And a lot of those affair situations start off situations like that, where it's just a coworker expressing their frustration with not being able to have an adult conversation or come to a real compromise. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of the ways that women operate in relationships is really unfair to men. Men just don't require as much. Men are very simple. We say that over and over again. Like, men don't require much for their families. We're not necessarily needy beings. So,
yeah, I mean, men by nature are minimalist, right? Most of the times, you think about when men go on a trip, just packing a couple of clothes, a couple of shoes, as opposed to what women pack, or even in their apartments, right? It's kind of very simple. A TV, couch, a bed, some clothes, a couple of pairs of J's, right? But she's got 50 shoes, 50 pairs of dresses, hundreds of pairs of different underwear, right? So
Yeah,
men are minimalists here by nature. But I was going to ask you a quick question. Have you ever read the book Verbal Judo?
no, I've
Okay,
never
I
heard
would
of it.
I would recommend that for the men. It's because it's it's basically like how you can talk to people and kind of just try to get everybody on this. Pretty much trying to get somebody on the same page. The person that wrote it was in law enforcement. It was a college professor. But I think it's one of those you can apply to pretty much anything here with that kind of book. So for any of the men listeners find themselves, I think it's a great read.
Yeah, I definitely check that out, man. That seems real interesting because, you know, fortunately for me, like I said, I can handle these things and I can identify them in real time. So it is frustrating because a lot of the times as a man, when there's a disagreement with a woman, you're sitting there listening, allowing her to talk. And while she's talking, a lot of the times that she's saying are assumptions that she's making about what you think and feel. You know what I'm saying? They're miscategorizing, she's miscategorizing what you actually said. She's missummarizing what happened in the past. She's bringing up situations and summarizing them in a way where you're the bad guy. So she's never bringing up her problems or the things that she does in those type of situations. And so as a man, it can be frustrating. And it's really interesting because remember, the therapist went viral talking about how women quit counseling once they start, well, hold on,
Yeah,
he didn't say that. He didn't actually do that. You know what I'm saying? Like you were the problem and you did this. Like they shut down when they get started, when
right.
they have an outside party calling them out.
Yeah, you know what? I think with a lot of women, they're not used to really having their feet really just held so far. Not and some understand and know how to be accountable, but you have a lot that don't in that situation. And she says, after a few weeks, the guy keeps coming, but the woman says, you know what? I'm going to opt out of counseling because hey, I'm actually being held accountable and I'm actually having to be forced to deal and address this. And unfortunately, society doesn't gives women deferential treatment. From you think about it, from law enforcement to the way the laws are constructed, it gives women
True.
deferential treatment. They understand this.
Yeah, I mean, so this is not just a relationship problem. Guys experience this with their sisters, with their cousins. Trying to call your mom out on being wrong about something where she made an emotional decision or an assumption. Like
Right.
guys have had to have this battle and this dealing with teachers. The teaching system is mostly women. So guys experience this in all aspects of life where you don't really get to fully voice your opinion or the way that a woman felt about the interaction is the fundamental thing. You know what I mean? Like even when you didn't do anything wrong or you did it. I mean, we've all seen these videos where a guy can call out a woman and she say something stupid or idiotic and wrong, and then she just starts crying. You know what I'm saying? Like she can just
Damsel in distress.
yeah, she can just instantly switch the conversation and start to garner sympathy from other women, regardless of what she said or what she did. So again, this is the biggest issue that the reason why we have
I think
platforms like this to try to voice the male perspective because it in real time is real hard to do.
no question about it.
All right, looks like we up against the clock. We're about to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be getting into tonight's topic, marketing plan, where we talk about how selling yourself, how marketing yourself is a very crucial part of the dating market, and why men and women have to understand that in order to have dating success. You are tuned into the Hold Husband podcast. We'll be back in a minute. Hi, I'm relationship coach and author Terry Duran, and I am pleased to announce that my book, It's Not That Complicated, is finally available as an audiobook. So if you don't like to read or you just don't have time to read a paperback book, this audiobook is perfect for you. You can listen to it while you're in your car, while you're at work, etc. In the book, I break down how husband material men think and operate in regards to sex, love, and relationships, and I provide real quality insight on how husband material men approach dating. The audiobook is available on audible.com and on iTunes. All you have to do is go to one of the websites and search for my name, Terry Duran. Go download your copy today. All right, everybody, welcome back to the hoetohusbandpodcast. Tonight's episode is titled Marketing Plan. So we're talking about why men and women have to market themselves in order to have dating success. So I wanted to start the conversation off with the definition of what marketing actually means. So if you Google marketing, it says that marketing is the activity or business of promoting and selling products or services. And so when we talking about the dating market, you are essentially marketing the fact that you are an eligible candidate. Why am I somebody that you could potentially date? And so that's when we see people, maybe a lot of people don't realize that's what should be going on or that's what's going on. But we're making judgment calls about people based off these criteria all the time. You know what I mean? So you have to consciously think about that when it comes to how you present yourself to the public. Some things should stay private. Some things, don't need to be put on social media. Some environments are private. And if you don't understand that, you're going to find yourself having some real awkward or difficult dating situations.
Yeah, definitely. It's all. I guess it is all about how you market and present yourself, right? From everything you do, from what you wear when you walk outside. Let's just say you're going on a date, what you wear then, or even in a situation where you could potentially meet someone. All that matters here, right? Because and for those who think marketing doesn't matter, think about it. Why during every election, why do politicians take out ads in the radio or on television here, right? They're marketing for you to go vote for them.
Yeah, and as far as dating goes or marketing, guys understand that, and you see it in the animal kingdom and all that with animals, they mating signs, right, mating dances and noises, all these things. What do I have to do to get a girl to notice me and at least have a chance? And so guys, the ones that start as a youngin and work their way up, start learning these tactics and learning what works and what doesn't work as early as elementary school. You know what I mean? Writing notes, having conversations. Now, obviously, those things change now because of the way that kids and youngsters interact with one another. I think it's actually more difficult, even though technology makes it easier to access one another. They can talk while playing games, DMs, social medias, and all that. But it's really difficult to have meaningful conversations. And I think ultimately that kind of makes them less effective at face-to-face conversation. But we can get into that a little bit later. But the marketing aspect of it, the guys that get it early and was either taught the game by somebody, like SD schooling his kids' sons and all that. Like if you've been schooled on the game, like his son definitely got a head start on other guys in middle school, high school. He rocking designer cologne and he doing this and he got an image together. You know what I'm saying? He's effectively marketing himself as a boyfriend material dude. And so that's crucial, man. Some people never get it.
That is, he's definitely got an advantage, like you said, over the other, middle school boys here, right? Because his father's pretty much, giving him a template or giving him a blueprint on, how to make yourself marketable, how to make yourself marketable, right? Most of us in middle school, we kind of just had to learn through trial and error here. Now, I guess it's different, hey, listen, if you're the star, I guess football player, basketball player, or sometimes that definitely helps a whole lot. That'll definitely.
Yeah. Well, I guess I never thought about the athletic. Yeah. I guess it's a different level of marketing. But this kind of this conversation or this topic, or I was thinking about this in relation to job interviews. So I'm interviewing for another position at work, and so I'm doing some interview preparations, right? Where you got you got to answer the questions in a certain way and all that. And so I was talking to one of my close friends about it, and he was asking me, like, man, you not nervous? And I was telling him, man, I love doing interviews. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a nerd like that. I love interviews and I love taking tests. But I have logical reasons why. I like taking tests because I like to be able to prove I know something. or prove
Right.
you know what I'm saying, like get a real accurate assessment on what I do and don't know. So that's why I like taking tests. But as far as interviews, I was telling them, man, if there's any subject in the world that you know the most about, it should be about you and what you know, right? So when I'm on the interview and you asking me what I can do, that's the easiest. That's the topic I have the most information about. So I'm never nervous to explain. You know, it's not like I'm applying for a job I don't know how to do. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was trying to bullshit my way through an interview, that's one thing.
Right.
But if we talking about my background and my history and what I've been doing, man, I can, you know, they give you those questions. What's the time you've had to do leadership? And what's the time you've had to do this? Like I can instantly make up a lie that based off just my experience and make it sound believable. You know what I mean? But the thing that was the goal, or the thing that I didn't really think he realized, my partner was talking about how nervous he get when he's on interviews and all that. And he was like, man, the only time I'm really good at marketing myself is when I'm trying to fuck a chick. and my brain exploded like that was a bar. Because once he said it, I was like, damn, that is really how I got good at marketing myself, is running through chicks and telling chicks about yourself and all that. And so as funny as I guess, you know, we was like that, you know, back in the day, but that's where you have to be at your best, you know what I'm saying? And when you in that mode where you one-on-one with a chick, that is where it really gets put to the test, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, that's funny. I never heard nobody say that before. That was funny though. But you actually, you know, I guess you are, you know, indirectly, you know, you're marketing yourself you're basically campaigning for sex, right? When you're dealing with a woman, you know, because you're talking, you know, you meet her somewhere, you're exchanging numbers, you're probably going out somewhere, you know, hoping that, okay, this ends in a sexual experience, hoping she's either coming back to your house or you going back to her house, and it ends with the sexual encounter. So yeah,
well, yeah, that's the more direct way of doing it. But I think for most interactions between men and women, it happens based off you being around a person through an organization, just you know, an event, a friend of a friend, a birthday party. Like, so you meet people in all these type of different situations. And so how you dress, how you present yourself, all that comes into play, because a pattern of those things are what form your reputation, right? And so when you go into your female cousin's birthday party, her homegirls, if her attractive cousin, she's heard about you. She knows of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. Your reputation preceded itself. And so as a guy, you know, in high school and coming up and all that, the marketing that you do on how you're viewed by the public matters, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, even we talk about it all the time, how women are smashing a very small percentage of guys. Those guys that find a way to get in that category early reap the benefits their whole lives, because those are skills that don't go away.
None, not at all here. You know, and having like skills like those, you know, are important. Like you said, once you kind of get it down pat, it's like driving a car. Once you get those ones, once you kind of get that down pat, it kind of goes with you, and you're more so just looking for ways to evolve that game. That's about it.
Yeah, and if you can do it through conversations with a woman where you making her laugh, y'all sitting there chopping it up. If you are a guy that is doing what you're supposed to do, you can always, during a conversation, like, man, I'm hungry. You hungry? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can always instantly suggest, oh man, there's a daiquiri shop across the street. Let's walk across the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can always suggest something that keeps y'all together longer and interacting more. But again, that's a skill set. Those are all the kind of things that, you know, ultimately make a guy have success in the business world or in school. Those are the same tools or skills that make them a good day, you know, at least be able to get from, you know, to home base with a woman, because you don't have to be intent on trying to be marrying a woman. You don't have to promise her love and all that. You just have to make right now really interesting to where it's going to be on her mind after y'all interact.
I mean, exactly. I mean, look, if you can keep good conversation with her, and you know, I think that's half the battle right there. But,
and unfortunately, that's becoming harder and harder to do. Guys are having less and less experience one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? Like I can remember just, you know, sitting on some stairs outside talking to girls for hours, sitting by the playground talking to girls all day. You know, because we from the era where you was outside all day. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, I think that's all, you know, in the past, you know, decade and a half, it's all gone by the wayside. And, you know, it's just because everybody's not interacting personally. Everybody's interacting through text messages, group chats. Even you know, even back in the day, hey, we used to all go over each other's house to go play video games, right? Now people we don't even do that anymore.
Do it from home.
We play the games online and interact with each other that way with a headset and everything behind a TV. But, you know, and this will switch off into the next thing, right? Social media has made self-marketing a 24/7 cycle. So lots of people use it for false advertising because it gets the, you know, the attention, engagement, clicks, views, and everything there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part, right? People have figured out that, or maybe they may not realize it, but the angles that they take, they present themselves in the most flattering way possible on social media because it gets you more likes, attention, engagement, and more DMs. You know what I'm saying? It's going to make more people interested in you. But the women that are getting BBLs, marketing in their panties, everything they do, they gotta be in a swimsuit or their underwear. Yes, that is very attractive. Men or even women are going to like those photos, and it's going to get you more likes. But when you are marketing yourself sexually, that is how you're going to be viewed by men. And it is coming at the sacrifice of being viewed as somebody that he could take seriously. Because most guys, despite what y'all may hear online, most guys do not want the woman that they are seriously dating to be online sexualizing herself, especially when the intended consequence is attention from other men and celebrities and athletes sliding in their DMs.
Yeah. You know, and like I said, I think it's a bad way. I think it falls under that where there's no such thing as bad attention. All attention is good attention, right? If you're marketing in bikinis, lingerie, right, you're gonna get tons of comments, DMs, and the women understand this when they're doing this. But like you said, no guy wants the woman that, you know, she could be seen in her lingerie by everybody. Because the thing is with the internet and social media, once you hit that send, once it's on there, it's there forever. There's no scrubbing it because somebody screenshot it, right? Somebody saved it on the phone, screenshot it or something. So you can't, once it's there, and men understand that, you know, at some point somebody's seen his woman half naked. That's not the person he wants to pursue something serious with.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess in the era where we're in now, everybody got something sexual done on tape, photos or something to that degree.
Oh no.
So absolutely. I think that should be expected to some degree. But it's different when a woman builds a brand or a name sexualizing herself, because that's how you're going to be viewed. No matter what, you know, if you get a BBL, the first thing you are walking in every room with is advertising the sexual parts of your body. Whether you at church, whether you at your kid's school, whether you at the dentist's office, everyone is going to look at you starting from a sexual standpoint. And so you can't do something permanent like that causes, you know, an extreme marketing campaign and then try to expect people to ignore it or not pay attention to it. That's not how reality works, you know. And so you have to be conscious of how you move on social media, because when you start to question why you're posting certain content, the answers become clear. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's because I want certain attention. Like, I studied social media in graduate school. So I obviously have a different perspective on it. But I think about how differently I would treat social media if I was single and marketing myself as a bachelor. Y'all would see a lot of my workout videos. Y'all would see me shirtless. Y'all would see me doing, you know what I'm saying? Like my
Right.
content would be very different for obvious reasons. I would want the chicks in my DMs. What's good? I'm coming to Houston. I will. What was that like? I will be on that. I will be on it heavy because that's what you do when you single. You know what I mean? Like, so the what your goal is or what the outcome is should dictate how you market yourself to the world. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm conscious of what I put out there because I'm married. I got a family. I'm not trying to embarrass nobody. I make sure I don't do nothing that nobody can expose me on, or you know what I'm saying, like none of that type of stuff. But those are all conscious decisions because I'm trying to market myself as a respectable person. I ain't trying to be embarrassed and humiliated.
Well, you're marketing, and that's the brand that you're marketing. You want to market. I know what you're marketing there is, hey, this is how, this is, I guess, the blueprint to go from, hoe to a, former hoe to a husband, somebody who's a family oriented person, as a wife, family that you care for, and giving tangible information. That's the brand. You don't want to end up like, Mr. Derek Jackson, who, marketed himself. Right, he marketed himself as the family man, the constant family, similar to what you do, right? But he was more pandering, right? But once he got exposed, people are like, okay, dude is a complete fraud here, right? And,
that would kill me. I would really hate to be viewed that way. To me, the real value in social media these days is authenticity. I love the fact that people that know me in real life know I'm keeping it real. Like, I'm not lying about my income, my lifestyle, my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really who I say I am. So to me, that's a real big thing. And when you can gain respect and gain a following by being real without clout chasing, that's why I can link up with other people like SD and that I've met through social media and have genuine, mutually respected relationships because it's all authentic. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had met online. I had pulled up. I was working in Chicago. Pulled up to the crib. We recorded some stuff, some content. Like, so we actually met in person after meeting through, and that obviously led to us the podcast. But if I was a dude that was perceived as a panderer, like, I can't even imagine how that would be. You know what I'm saying? Because when people recognize me from social media, especially the dude, they're like, man, you're a real, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's always something that comes up, is how real I am. So I take pride in it.
Absolutely. And I think authenticity is respected, and with level of authenticity you show on your page, and this is who I am. But what you see, with you is what you see is what you get, right? And people respect that, as opposed to you promoting yourself one way and then you're doing something totally different in real life. Like, I don't think it's like, here's the thing: you're respected by other men. Like, Derek Jackson is not respected by other men. I mean, yeah, the women love him, and they're the main consumer of his products or services of his platform. They're the main people watch. But is he respected by other men, or is other men saying, hey, I want to be like Derek Jackson? No.
Well, I guess I never look at it like that. I don't necessarily feel like everybody's like, I want to be like Terry or nothing. But the guys that do want to have an attractive wife, a solid family structure, got a decent career, you living comfortably. For the younger guys, I can see them seeing that this is the kind of path or the kind of route you should take. And just the conversations that we have, I think, for a younger guy that may be following me, he has a perspective on what it's like to be an adult that he probably didn't. You hear me talking about things that I wish I had known beforehand, like what it really means to be a husband. What's it really like? You know what I'm saying? Because you hear all kinds of stuff before the wedding or before it actually happens. But a lot of that is, tradition and stuff like that. It's not reflective of what the day-to-day life of being married is actually like. And unfortunately, that's changing due to the times we're in.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, the cost that it takes to be able to provide for a family now, you know, man, I saw a post earlier that said college guys between the ages of men between the ages of 20 and 27, their unemployment rate is the same for college educated and uneducated. So it's like,
Wow,
yeah,
man,
so
that's scary. Sign of the times here, man. It's really that's real scary here. That in the trajectory that we're going. But and speaking of the younger generations, right? I think they're going to struggle with basic, face-to-face interactions with others because it seems to make them uncomfortable as opposed to the way we grew up interacting with people here.
yeah, it's funny because when I hear my daughter talking about this stuff, like anything basic, she could calls weird or call like staring at somebody for 2 or 3 seconds is weird. I'm like, no, that's what guys do when they find someone attractive. They're going to be trying to make eye contact with you. They're going to be they're going to find angles to be able to see you in a crowd and in a classroom. So it's like anything that men do that naturally come to them is viewed as creepy or weird or problematic. And it's like, well, y'all don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just look at your phone and post stuff on your phone. You don't have to do anything in real life. And so not only is the guys don't really have much opportunities, the women don't know how to receive it and keep it going because they can't hold a conversation either.
Exactly. Think about this for a second, right? Like, how was your daughter when she got her first cell phone? Like when you guys.
I don't know, man. She's had an iPod. She had an iPod Touch at one, so she's had her own device her whole life.
Right. So the point I'm making is, since as a young kid, she's had technology, either a smartphone or some sort of smart mobile device, right? Whether even if it's even the iPad, right? And that was pretty much her way of growing up and kind of communicating, as opposed to like I got my first cell phone I believe at 16, and it was the Nokia 3390, the little gold looking thing. Everybody got the state, right? It wasn't a smartphone, but I've interacted. We've been social before that, so. Now, like you said, the average kid, the average Gen Z, right, grew up right in the middle, right smack dab in the middle of the social media / smartphone era, right? Where think about this, we're almost 20 years removed from the first iPhone that came. The first iPhone came out in 2007.
That's crazy.
And from that.
I guess a lot of them don't realize a lot of the things that they view as lame are necessary things to do when you are interacting with, when you're face to face. Like I was talking to her, like, when you walk in the room, what's up, everybody? Like, that's a no for her. You know what I'm saying? Like, their generation. Like walking in and saying what's up to a crowd, or, we were having a conversation about going to a party where you don't know everybody. I'm like, that's not everywhere you go, it's gonna be like that. You get an invite, you show up with one of your people and y'all check it out and y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's a very scary thing for them. And they're like, what if it's people we don't know there and this and that and that? So I'm like, man, it just be making me think like, how do you date the cute girls?
It's
if you can't create a page where you get a following and you get some followers to be able to market yourself to, it's gonna be tough for a guy out there.
It is, man. That's crazy. You go to a party, social setting. You're like, well, what if there's people that you don't know? Most of the time, you want to see different people. You want to see people that you didn't know because you want to get a chance to see different people, different faces. Hey, you might meet a woman that you normally don't ordinarily see there and get to know.
Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy how times change.
Because it's a marketing opportunity. I always viewed it as a marketing opportunity. What you wear to the party, what you smell like, being able to dance. You know what I'm saying? Like those type of things make you stand out as a guy. Especially when I think about it in college. Being a noops and throwing, dancing in the parties and strolling and all that.
Yeah.
Those are things that made us stand out. The bow ties, all these type of things. Those are all marketing. And if you use it right, you can put, a lot of guys that may have been lames before are able to assimilate and boost their status to start getting girls. And the guys that already had it like that, they kind of go on, mild celebrity status on the campus and around the yard. So marketing, can benefit everybody. You just got to be conscious of it and make sure you're doing it in a way that actually aligns with your long-term goals.
Absolutely. And I wonder how it is on the college campus now.
Mostly on their phones, man. A lot of the parties and a lot of the events are not as engaged. You don't have the, a chick grinding on you and all that type of stuff that you had. The slow dance and like all the stuff that kind of made a party a perfect flirt festival. A lot of it's been removed. You still see people training around the parties and stuff, but other than that, it's usually just a lot of standing around for the most part. Standing around rapping lyrics or snapping it up on their phone.
On their phones.
All right, man. Looks like we up against the clock. We're about to get up out of here, man. Looking forward to having SD back on the next episode.
Yes, sir.
But before we go, man, I want to give another shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us laced with our background music. I want to remind y'all to continue supporting the podcast through our Cash App and our PayPal. Jay, I appreciate you linking up so we can get this episode knocked out.
Absolutely.
This has been another episode of the Hold a Husband podcast, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.